Isn't this been so much fun? I've really been enjoying having everyone here, and I'm getting a bang out of seeing some of you that have been doing, did the dance party this morning, and then some of you did the little quick workout that I did yesterday, because I know as parents or as moms, we really don't have a lot of time for things. And one of the things that we spend a ton of time on doing is basically repeating ourselves and talking to our kids and them just not getting it. They're like, you're like, hey mom, and they're like, not listening to you, and they drive you crazy, right? So I found that it's sort of the second part, because I have three parts of my parenting philosophy that I developed over, 30 years working with kids. And it's really not as difficult as you think. And yesterday we talked about behavior. That was number one. So we talked about why kids do what they do, kind of the thinking behind it. And it's not always because they're toads. Sometimes kids are just toads. It's okay to have that. And then sometimes they're just, trying to tell you something in a way that you may not have quite picked up on yet. So they'll act out, or they'll just be little rudders, or they'll do stuff you're like, what were you thinking? And when you ask them, they go, right? They do it all the time. So let's just kind of get into today as I keep fiddling around with this. See if I can scooch this back just a little bit more, because I feel like I'm kind of like all up your grill. Is that a little better? I hope so. Anyways, we're just gonna, we're just gonna do this. What the heck? All right, okay. So for those of you that may or may not know me, most of you do, but we have lots of new faces here. My name is Corina, and I am affectionately known as Auntie Corina. And it came from my 30 years of running my licensed family daycare in my home. Now, one of the things that you have to understand is I didn't know all this when I started raising my kids. As a matter of fact, I had this one lady that literally I call so often that she actually asked me to stop calling anymore. And I still feel bad. Sorry, Corey. I still feel bad about that, because I really just didn't have the guidance. I couldn't ask my mom at that time because we were kind of on the outs. And I didn't have a large circle of friends. And this little mom group that I had from my church was all I had. And I saw this one woman doing stuff, and I thought, oh my gosh, she is just amazing, and I want to be just like her. So I leaned on her really heavily and kind of burned the bridge for that part. We had been friends for years, so not to worry. So make sure you say hi while I grab myself a quick sip of water. You say hi. Let me know where you're from. Let me know how many kids you have and what your business is, because I work with entrepreneurs. That's what I do. It's my jam. Born into an entrepreneurial family. Great with kids, kid whisperer, put the two together, bada bing, bada boom, you got me. All right. So when we start parenting, there's very, very few people that really just kind of know what to do. I've always said that parenting is a skill, and we have to work really, really hard to figure it out on our own. Some parts are easier, some parts are just like clear as mud. So that's what I do. I've taken my years of babysitting. Yeah, I started at 11 years old. I know, aren't you horrified? Can you imagine your 11-year-old? Can you imagine your 11-year-old babysitting now? I don't know. Anyways, and I was the person that they came to. I was that kid that would babysit 6 nights a week, go to school, do all that stuff. I got involved with autistic adolescents because I really wanted to work with kids that I could now call extra special. Because kids are special, but some kids are extra special because they have a few extra needs. And then I also ended up becoming a special education assistant. Now, all of those things just combined with those two things seems like an awful lot, right? And it was. It gave me a really good foundation. And one of the things when I was working in what was called Gateway House at the time, I'm not sure if it's still about, but it was a residential home for autistic adolescents. Now, these kids could not live at home. Their behaviors were pretty challenging, and they needed full-time care. And the first thing I learned is how to communicate really simply, almost ridiculously simple. And the reason that became so important was that they're very difficult to get autistic kids' attention. Now, for those of you that may have autistic kids, you may know that. Now, for those of you that don't, you're going, yeah, my kids are just deaf half the time. Anyways, oh my gosh, we're having an issue here. So what I started finding out is that when I said less, they understood more. And it's not only how I spoke to them, it was the tone I used. Sorry about that. It was my gestures, it was my intonation, it was the delivery, it was all these things combined that helped these kids to really be able to understand me. So fast forward a bunch of years when I had my own kids, and then eventually I started running my own daycare. Now, I ran that daycare for over 15 years. I was only licensed for 15, but I probably ran it closer to 16, 17, 18 years. And I got busted for having too many kids. So they were like, you need to get licensed. And I was like, okay. I can do that. I'll get licensed. Thank you very much. So some of the things that I found was really important, that when I had 5 or 7 kids whipping around, and most of them were under the age of 5, the last thing I needed to be doing was repeating myself on repeat. I would have lost my schnizzle. Seriously, you know what it's like with 1, 2, or even 3 kids or more when you're trying to get your kids to go put their shoes on, and it's like trying to herd cats, right? But when you understand how you need to talk to your kids, and the tone and the inflection and the connection and the actual words that you use, you're going to find it so much easier. And for a lot of parents that I work with, that's the first thing I work on, is how to communicate more easily. And I've done a lot of classes on that. So if you want to find out more, just hop in my group and you'll see lots there. Or you can just say hi to me and pop into my inbox anytime and I will help you out. Now, the big thing that I have found about communication is we talk too much. Okay, and this is from the girl, my poor mother, who had diarrhea of the mouth. So this chick that basically just about drove my mother to drink, with the amount of talking I did, had to learn to stop talking so much. Really tough. And the reason that was so tough was because I figured that I needed to be louder. I needed to take up more space. I needed to have more like energy out in order for somebody to listen to me. And what I found is the exact opposite. When I found that I spoke less, use your ears. When I talked simple like that, using 2 to 5 words, I was like, wait a minute. Kids are actually hearing me. I'm not saying, go put on your shoes, everybody. Hurry up. Come on. Go put on your shoes. It's time to go. We've got 5 minutes. We got to get out the door. Go get your shoes on. Turn their ears off. Why? Your energy is outrageous. Your tone is overwhelming. It starts that fight or flight in their brain. Yes, you're going to get lots of psychology and lots of why brains do what they do when you work with me, because I think it's really crucial in being able to understand your kids better. So you have to actually parent less. Yeah, actually works like that. So what I found is that, when we don't trigger that fight or flight, when we aren't trying to holler, as I call it, long distance parenting, John, put your stuff away, go grab your backpack. We got soccer in 5 minutes. Like, nobody wants that. All you get is, ugh, if they even hear you. Now, one of the things that you may not know is that little kids, really little ones especially, or maybe you do it yourself. I know I've done it, where I'm on my computer or my tablet, or back in the day when I would read, oh my God, I read. I'm a voracious reader. I've read about 200 parenting books alone, honest to gosh, just did. Took little bits that I liked, dumped the rest. That's where I'm at today. So you don't have to read 200 books. I'm going to be your shortcut. But I would be so deep in my book that my mom would literally have to stand in front of me and tap on my shoulder because I was like gone. Little kids are like that. When they play and they're like in these whole magical little worlds that you are just not part of. And they're just into what they're doing. They're deep in the middle of their playing. They're deep in what they're doing, and their world is, and then you get their attention. And they almost, if you tap them, they almost startle, right? They are so into their own world. They don't see, hear, or almost feel anything of this world. I tease my husband because when he's working, I don't even bother talking to him unless I'm like, hey, can I have your attention for a second? Because I really need to ask you something. If I get the I say, okay, you're not of this world. So that's what I use. And you can use that with your kids that are a bit older. Okay, I can tell you are not of this world. So, can we just like come to earth, come to mama? We can do that. And when you're able to express yourself in a way that not only can your kids understand by not overwhelming them with energy, tone, intonation, and words, you're able to connect with them. They're able to hear you. So you're saying things once, it's getting done. You're not getting frustrated. The decibel level isn't rising. Energy isn't getting more and more wound. It's actually, you do less work. Something I think is really, really important. And people used to say this to me all the time, and they still do when I'm hanging out with kids in the front yard or whatever. They're like, how do you not lose your temper? You are so patient. I'm actually not. I'm actually not that patient of a person. Now, over time, I've learned, but I always say to people, I am the laziest person you're going to meet. They're like, you're not lazy. Oh my gosh, you're always doing something. I'm like, yeah. But I'm lazy about it because I want to do it as efficiently as possible so I can get back to doing the stuff I want to do. Like when I was running my daycare and I had these 5 or 7 kids and we were out in public or walking to school, which was like 1 kilometer and change each way. And when they were all playing in the backyard and people were coming and picking up and it was time to get ready for home, you could see that the kind of energy we're getting. When I had that, I had to find a way to be super efficient, lazy, so I didn't have to constantly be after them, which would have made my days miserable, which made the kids miserable. And I would really just hate what I'm doing because I know you've been there. Why? Because I've been there. Every mom that I have ever met, and I am probably going to say close to thousands now, have all had a similar thing. My kids don't listen and it drives me banana sandwiches. Can't handle it. It's like they're so rude. They just won't listen to me. And tweens and teens are the worst. No, they aren't. Your terrible 2s or your horrible 3s or your fighting 4s or your crappy teens, they aren't. When you change how you communicate, that doesn't happen because your kids are able to hear you and understand you, and they are going to model. They are going to learn from the way you're talking, and they're going to learn how to communicate that's clear and efficient. They're going to learn how they know to get your attention in a positive way, that they can come to you and you're going to give them the same respect that they give you. And it builds. So I've never had terrible 2s. I've always had terrific 2s and thrilling 3s and fabulous 4s. You get the idea. I never really found any of them super difficult. Confusing sometimes, challenging, absolutely. Some of the teen times with my eldest son were really challenging, but he had something going on that we just didn't understand, and it wasn't until much later I was able to go back and we were able to go, oh my God, I can't believe we didn't see that. But it wasn't from lack of communication. It wasn't from lack of spending time and being clear and understanding behavior to the best of your ability with what you have. I say this all the time. So I want you to understand that being a parent doesn't mean you get this manual. We get handed these washing instructions. They give you this little being saying, here, wash it, feed it, change it, and try not to screw it up too bad that they end up in jail or worse. And it's like, parenting's a skill. We need to be taught. And especially now, we are so isolated that the way we communicate has changed. We're now using Zoom. We're now using text. We're now using, voice messaging, all these things that are missing out on that communication so that we can learn from other moms and other parents when we go out and about on better ways. We're like, oh, hey, that's a good idea. Or, oh, hey, that's a good idea. That's how I learned a lot of what I did, by observation. And when we don't have these communities and people to get together in physical connections like we are used to, because we're not built to do it on our own. We are not. It's not how women work. You know it. We have 50,000 words. Men have 5. I'm going to say, let's give them 20, okay? Like, let's not be sexist terribly, just a little bit. Guys don't need to talk as much. But we do. And when our spouse comes in the door and we inundate them, do you ever see this? Yeah, because we are overwhelming them. It's called flooding. And they get flooded with emotion. Their primitive brain kicks on, you get your fight or flight going, and then they retreat, right? Kids do the same thing. When they are feeling overwhelmed, you'll see little kids, they get small, or they get that look on their face that they're going to just bust out in tears. And then you feel like crap. Oh my God, the guilt, right? Our entire society, I swear, has been designed to make every mother feel guilty for every single little thing she does. And I think it's nonsense. I do. Because there's nothing wrong with once in a while, especially if it's a safety issue, you get to scream at your child. If it's a safety issue and they are running across the street and there is a ice cream truck coming, you get to scream at them and grab them and do whatever you need to do. And your words will be very clear. And that's okay. But what I'm talking about is your day-to-day stuff. When you are at home, when your kids are all underfoot, you just need some space, or you need them to do something, or you want their attention because we need to get some things done, especially with online schooling. You need to have the communication skills that are designed and are constructed in a way that really allow you for your kid to hear, B, to not cause conflict, and B, for them to be able to understand and follow through without you nagging their butt. Really, it's just that simple. So, well, simple. Simple is simple does. But truly, parenting has become so overcomplicated. It has become this crazy, constant sound of nothing but, for those of you that know the old Grinch, the old Grinch, the old Grinch movie, the Christmas one where he goes on the noise, the noise, the noise. That's what I'm talking about. We need to cut it. We need to stop it. It's what I do with my clients when they work with me every single time. And 99% of the time, I get an almost instant change. And I've had people on my lives where I said, oh, do this. Boom, they did it. They were like, I can't believe it. Like, they're already different. I'm like, yeah, because I've done this for 30 years. I don't expect you to know these things. This is my lane. This is the way I am built. This is what I do every day, all day, decades worth. And that's why I had to come on here. That's why I spent months, years really, but months and months putting this together, putting this event together for you, because I want you to be able to have the opportunity to get the shortcut. Okay, you hire your business coaches or your clients hire you. Why? Because you're the expert. You know exactly what to do. You're going to tell them how to do it. They're not going to have to reinvent the wheel. They're going to get the shortcuts and they're going to get the results, right? When they do the work. It's the same thing with what I do. And I am the missing piece that most people don't think about. When you have your business running, what's the big thing you often hear from other moms that are running their businesses? My kids are constantly interrupting. I am having so much difficulty trying to get time to run my business. I'm having such a tough time with my kids, painting the dog, climbing on the couches, fighting, bickering, squabbling. I can't seem to get anything done. I got to get up at 4 a.m, or I've got to stay up till 1 or 2 at night. Okay, no. The missing key here is parenting. And it's okay to say, I want to learn. I want to learn how to do it easier. I want the shortcut. I don't want to be yelling at my kids. I don't want to feel frustrated and wondering why the heck I'm doing my business, or what made me even think I could run a business with my kids around. I don't want that for you. I've been there. I've been in those positions where I didn't have the tools, didn't have the skills, didn't have the knowledge, and I am bumbling my way along, which A, took forever, B, was incredibly frustrating, hugely stressful. My kids suffered from it because mom was always a mess. Right? Because your kids feed on your energy. Like I said in one of the podcasts I did for the Stay Calm Mom with Jessica Ashley, she said, she took my quote that moms are the barometer of the family, and you are. So there you go. That's why the second pillar, behavior first, communication second, is so critical to when you work with me. To when my clients work with me, I teach them how to talk. And that's my mother. I got the gift of the gab. So that's what's going on. I just want to say thank you for your time. I want to say thank you for being here. Now, tomorrow, I have another little fun start to the morning. And then I have another one of our guests, only the guest that's going to be popping on tomorrow at noon PDT, and you can always scroll back in the event. It's going to be there for a little while. You can see what some of the moms have done when they've worked with me. You can see how I have impacted them in a real way on a day-to-day basis in changing and making it easier to get their kids doing what they needed, to get them listening the first time, to get them to stop the fighting, to get them stopping the whining and the tantruming, right? To make the house a calmer place so you can spend more time connecting and enjoying your kids, kind of what we thought we were going to get when we had them, right? Yeah. So that we don't have to spend our time yelling and screaming at our kids and pulling our hair out and wondering what we ever did thinking we could be a mom. I know. I went through it. I know what it feels like. It's crappy. So hop on tomorrow. We're going to talk about another pillar. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. I don't know. I do my lives like I work. I do it in real time. And I do it with an idea of what I'm going to do, and then I run with it. And when my parents work with me, they get all of my information. They get it all in one time, in one spot. So anyways, enough of that. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the third pillar of my parenting philosophy and why it is so important. And that is your follow through. And it's not, again, it's the theme here. It's not necessarily what you think it is. And it involves discipline. I'm going to leave that with you today. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Think about it. Let me know what you think. Drop your questions, and I am here for you. Talk to you soon. Bye.